All right, we're looking forward to tomorrow's historic moment when all Israeli hostages are set to be released, including the 20 that we pray are still alive. Joining us now is Israeli Ambassador to the United Nations, Danon. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Joy.
The interview we just had with Trey, very optimistic. If we wake up tomorrow morning here in the States, or Tuesday morning, and those hostages have been returned and accounted for, what's the next problem on the horizon? What's the next goal for Israel, and what's the next worry to move this forward?
First, Joy, everyone in Israel is holding their breath, praying for the release of the hostages. 8 hours from now, we should expect them to come home to reunite with their families. It's a miracle. 2 years after, to get them out of the dungeons of Hamas. So we are grateful for President Trump and for Prime Minister Netanyahu for the leadership and for the soldiers who sacrificed so much to bring us to this moment. But that is the easy part of the agreement, because it's an exchange. You know, we release terrorists. And by the way, look at the difference. We will celebrate citizens who were kidnapped coming home. They will celebrate terrorists who murdered innocent people getting out of jail. So you cannot make the equation. But after that, that's the difficult part, because the second phase requires the disarmament of Hamas. They should give their weapons. They should stop with everything they did for the last 20 years, and it's going to be much harder to implement it. And that's why we stayed in Gaza. We withdrew our forces to a certain point, not completely, because we have to wait, and we'll be very careful and cautious to see that they're actually implementing the second phase.
Ambassador, thank you so much for being here. I'm just wondering your sense of phase 2 and how much trust Israel has in Hamas. Again, we're dealing with a terrorist organization. There was reports of how they're already possibly positioning themselves to be Hamas under a new name and regain control. What does that look like if they don't disarm, if they don't give up control, if the Palestinian people are not allowed to move forward with new leadership? What does that look like?
Well, we have zero trust with them. You know, after October 7th, we know with whom we are dealing. We trust ourselves, we trust our soldiers, but we expect the international community to look at reality and understand that it's not enough to declare. You have to follow through. And it's not about the reconstruction of the building in Gaza. The international community have to make sure that they take out the radical elements from the Palestinians in Gaza, not allowing the radicals to take over. You know, 20 years ago, we pulled out from Gaza completely. We gave the keys to the Palestinians. We told them, build your own future. Hamas took over, and since then, they are there. So I think the challenge is to see that the money that comes in now is conditioned in the fact that Hamas is not part of the game anymore.
Yeah, Ambassador, obviously the biggest questions are the disarmament and the future governance of the phase 2. But because we have you here, the ambassador to the United Nations, I wanted to get your reaction to what are we to think, because we just had the UN General Assembly here in New York, and you're talking about the international partners, a number of international delegations got up and walked out of Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech. And now, partnering with President Trump, who led and got this done, I would argue no other world leader could have gotten this done. We are about to witness history.
Absolutely. And you can make the distinction between leadership, like President Trump proved, and people who came to make a show, like President Macron came to the UN, made declarations, and went back to France. Or the Secretary General of the United Nations. He's flying, by the way, to meet President Trump in Egypt, but he wasn't there for the 2 years. You know, he never visited Israel. He never took any real actions to bring back the hostages. So I think we saw the difference between real leadership, real diplomacy, and the show-off of the UN. And I told my colleagues at the UN, regardless of all the declarations you are passing here, the war will not end with the hostages in Gaza. And they tried to put pressure on us and sanctions and isolated us, but we stayed strong. And hopefully we are seeing that we are having a closure now, but the hostages first, they come home.
Ambassador, my heart is in my throat for you, for everyone, for all of the families waiting for these hostages to come home. Some very powerful and hopefully joyous hours to come. And then after that, the president heads for Egypt. We spoke a little bit about this with Trey, about the leadership that he's pulled together. The countries Jordan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, as well as European nations all gathering together with a focus on what comes next in Gaza. Even as we recognize the factions there on the ground in Gaza, have been known for civil war, as well as coming after Israel in the past?
I think it's very important what the president is doing, because it's not enough to declare that the war is over. You have to rebuild something in Gaza, and the involvement of moderate Arab countries, it's crucial, because you need someone who speaks the language, understands the mentality, and I think the involvement of Egypt, the UAE, and many other Muslim countries that share the same ideas with Israel, it's crucial for the success of the second phase. You need someone to be there and make sure that Hamas is not rebuilding their capabilities. Because as I said earlier, we don't trust them. They want to stay there, they want to regain power, and God forbid, to put a threat against Israel again.
I just want to follow up on that. You talked about moderate Arab countries, moderate Muslim countries. I mean, Qatar apparently played a big role in this, but they call the hostages detainees. So how much of this is playing the game of publicity and not, I guess, pissing off Hamas more, and how much of it is what they truly believe? I mean, when you have these meetings, and I know you can't say everything, but when you have these meetings with leaders from these countries that seem to almost play both sides of it, how genuine are they in a world where they accept Israel as their neighbor?
They should be stronger and braver. They know the truth. They have to face radical Islam in their own countries and in the region.
Yes.
But they're not doing it publicly.
Yeah.
And I think they should. They should tell their people what we saw on October 7th was not part of Islam. You know, the barbarism, the atrocities, and I think they should stop playing that game. We have seen it. Some countries stood with Israel, and we are grateful for that. The Abraham Accords, the countries which signed with us, stick to the accords during the war. Yeah. And it shows that we have a strong bond with those countries. But the countries you mentioned, they have to make a choice. Either they support the radicals or they want to be partner for peace.
Well, I think I speak for the panel and say we all pray we wake up tomorrow morning and those hostages are back and as many as possible are alive and healthy.
Amen. Thank you.
Ambassador Danny Danon, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.